Welcome back to the show. Today is a sad day. Because the last time we talked about the good part of the conjugations. The part that everybody loves. The indefinite part. And today we have to talk about the part that everybody hates. Because everybody asks the question, why do we have that part? Why do we need to indulge ourselves into something that it's not needed? But let me explain it to you. Why is it not needed, you might ask? Or why are we talking about something that is so sad? And the truth is that in English, if you talk about something in particular, you just talk about it. There is nothing to it. You say that I like that tree. And it's not that different from the type of sentence you would say if you like a tree. You would say, well, I like trees, or I like a tree, or something like that. And here, it's a whole whiteboard full of things that seems absolutely unnecessary. Because if you talk about something in particular, you have a definite goal, a definite, well, how can I put it very, an object in a sentence that is something in particular, like something you have to learn. It's not learning in general, like the previous board would have suggested, or singing in general. You're singing that song, you're singing or learning that thing. That's the trick. Yeah, I know. So, what can we do here? Well, we can learn it and then cry later. So, let's go down to business. Yes, I said get, but it came out as go. Well, who cares? Definite conjugations. So actually, we can be very quick. You remember the indicative part we talked about yesterday? All those many things, like present, past and future, just indicating what we want to say, just talking about stuff in general, positive or negative, maybe a question, all easy in Hungarian. It's just, for instance, let's take this example, tanulom. I learn something in particular. It could be nem tanulom, meaning I don't learn or I'm not learning something in particular, or tanulom, asking myself the crazy question because I have multiple personalities or something. But anyway, let's go with the present. That's kind of cool, I believe. So, tanulom, énekelem. Tanulod, énekeled. Tanulja, énekeli. Tanuljuk, énekeljük. Tanuljátok, énekelitek, tanulják, and énekelik. Alright, well, this might seem fun, don't you think? I mean, just look at it. It's brilliant. Although the attachments are not very similar this time, so it's not enough that you have to learn something you don't like. You have to learn it even more, because the patterns are all screwed up and horrible and just crazy. But look, I know it's awful and horrible, but it could be beautiful. I mean, once you learned everything and now you are writing poems or something, you might realize that Hungarian is quite poetic, because there are lots of different endings, there are lots of different versions of words you can use, meaning actually that you can create complex sentences, meaning similar things, but slightly or very drastically different. And that makes a good poem. Maybe one day I get to read one to you for fun, because poems are fun. They rhyme and they talk about emotions and whatnot. But, yeah, well, we'll see. Okay, here we go. Let's go to the past, because this will never end if we just keep talking about stuff. I mean, you imagine if I were to talk for thousands of hours, we would never get through this. But anyway, let's do that. Tanultam, énekeltem, tanultad, énekelted, tanulta, énekelte, tanultuk, énekeltük, tanultátok, énekeltétek, tanulták, énekelték. And that is fun. As you can see, this is a little bit easier. So, well, past tense. Remember past tense in indefinite. Yep, that's right. It had this crazy tátok and tétek and something like that. And that's a long ass attachment. Let's not lie about that. But that's kind of the only one. Most attachments are one syllable. And that's what I wanted to mention, that if you have a really long word in Hungarian, your only chance to find out what the root is that you try to recognize all the attachments, and most attachments are one syllable, so you get to remove the syllables until you found all the familiar attachments, hoping that there aren't any on the word anymore, and you found the root. But for us Hungarians it's easier actually, because we recognize all the words, so we can do it the other way around. Isn't that cool? Because I know what reading is in Hungarian, so if I have a really long word with the root read, then I can just recognize that. Then I can decipher all the attachments. That's what we did in school, actually. And that was not fun for most people. But I'm weird and I liked it. So anyway. Let's go back to with the future, and the future will be easy, because the future is always easy in Hungarian, at least the grammar. I mean, look at it, how fantastically easy it is. I didn't even bother writing everything down, because the future, like always, is all about the conjugation of the fog verb after or before the actual verb with the ni on the end. So tanulni, énekelni, it's the same as in the indefinite conjugation part, but now this is different, have definite conjugations. So fogom, fogod, fogja, fogjuk, fogjátok, fogják. And hopefully that's all. You know, I'm doing these videos and that's all fun, but I always have this terrifying fear that I screw something up, because even for me, being Hungarian, this is very dense. I never conjugate things like this, mostly because I have already learned Hungarian, learned it when I was a child, learned it very chaotically over the 6 first years of my life, like everybody else with their native language, and you would think that I know everything about the language, but that's not really true, is it? I mean, think about your language. If you wanted to teach it, it's full of very complicated things that you do by instinct instead of just, described mathematically or solved mathematically in your head. And that's crazy. But again, if you remember a couple of episodes ago, I used a website to conjugate everything, and even though I conjugated these myself because it's fun, and I thought I would be capable of doing that, you can use that to check what you are doing. So even though I still think that learning Hungarian requires videos and an actual teacher to answer all your questions, you can do it alone to some extent. And there are great tools on the internet for you to learn the language. And that's pretty awesome. So don't give up, never, because, it seems hard, but it's not. Okay, how about we do the conditional? So the conditional is one part hard, one part easy. The present part is hard because we get to learn new attachments like tanulnám, énekelném, tanulnád, énekelnéd, tanulná, énekelné, tanulnánk, énekelnénk, tanulnátok, énekelnétek, tanulnák, énekelnék. One quick thing. This one, I pronounce énekelnénk, like if there was no N, but it's there but not being emphasized. And of course, it's easy for me because I speak the language, but for you, you can pronounce it however you can or like. So énekelnénk, it's alright. Now, okay, so past. The past is kinda easy because you take the past tense version from the indicative. This is the exact same we did last time. We took the past version, the past conjugated version of the verb, and put volna there. So it's kind of easy. Tanultad volna, énekelted volna, tanultátok volna, énekeltétek volna, tanulták volna, énekelték volna, etc., etc. You can figure this out for yourself because it's very, very easy. And of course, I'm not saying that you can only figure out the easy stuff, because you're obviously not stupid. I mean, don't ever think that you are. But there are things that are not obvious. So that thing is kind of obvious, but all these attachments and when to use them, that's not very, very obvious. But look, don't worry about it. Once we learn all these, in the next couple of episodes, we will be trying to make sentences remembering all these things. And of course, with me, making sentences is easy because I know all the attachments and everything. But for you, I mean, you have to use the conjugator website thingy, and you have to use the dictionary. But with these two, it is possible to make sentences. And although Google Translate is getting, well, better and better, they still struggle with the Hungarian language for reasons I don't know. Maybe because I only program just a little bit and teach the language just, let's say, a little bit. Maybe I can't see what the problem is, but from what I'm experiencing, Google Translate from English to Hungarian and from Hungarian to English could work. I mean, because it's not very complicated. But, well, look, I mean, Hungary is just 10 million people and a couple of million or just a couple of 100,000 scattered around the world, so maybe we are not worth just, being figured out or whatever. Anyway, okay, so I digress. Imperative, because that is fun. When you tell somebody to do something very, very naughty or good or bad or whatever. So, there is only present for obvious reasons. So, tanuljam, énekeljem, tanuld, énekeld, tanulja, énekelje, tanuljuk, énekeljük, tanuljátok, énekeljétek, tanulják, énekeljék. And that's all. Very cool. Now, of course, this one and this one we should talk about a little bit. You know, a couple of minutes ago I mentioned Google Translate by complete and utter accident, if you believe me. And the reason for that accident was that Hungarian uses two different versions of the language, or at least two different expressions to address other people. Nowadays it's crazy and nobody knows what to do because our culture is suffering because nobody cares anymore. But officially, or at least if you're going by the proper etiquette, you should address people you are not familiar with, or not friends, or family, with the formal version of the language. Meaning that when you try to indicate something, or try to, use the imperative, making sentences like, oh, can you please go there, can you please stand over there, or something, then you would have to use the tanulja énekelje version, so the third person actually. Meaning that, he should do this, he should do that, and that's not making much sense in English, I know. But if you speak German, for example, you might have a better understanding of the whole thing. And if you... but if you can imagine it, I believe. So, and of course, some years ago, like 100 or 150, it was customary to address your parents, for instance, with the formal version of the language. So it was, you weren't just going around saying, hey dad, what's up? You would going around say that, yes father, yes sir, thank you very much, and whatever. And that is fun, because nobody does that anymore, and it sounds so strange and weird in films. But that's alright. So, moving on. Well, okay, so I believe that was kinda fun, hopefully, or sad, but I'm hoping it was fun. Now, I made a question about the formal part of the language, and now, right now, we are not bothering ourselves with that. It's not worth it. It's a very complicated thing and you can't learn everything at once. And of course, just think about it. Given that you know some Hungarian, you go up to somebody, preferably the same age or maybe a little bit older, and that person doesn't speak English, maybe doesn't speak any language because just a couple of % of the country, like, I don't know, 20-30, speaks the language, and these people are concentrated or congregate in Budapest. So that's like, I don't know, maybe 5% of the country. Not by population, but by area. And most people visit Budapest and nothing else. And the everything else is the cool part of the country. But anyway. So, when you go up to somebody trying to ask for something, usually they will be like they will be going out of the way to help you, because in the countryside people are incredibly helpful. They have this feel of integrity, decency, helpfulness, whatever. So you are, if you dare to go to the countryside alone with some Hungarian in your pocket, you will have a wonderful time. Now, some people don't want to, but I can take you around, who cares? So whatever happens, the thing is that you should address people informally first, because they will be incredibly happy about that, happy about it, that you actually speak some Hungarian. And then later on, when you are becoming more of an expert in the language because you live here or something, then you can start addressing people formally, well, in a government office or something. And of course, police and firemen and ambulance people, paramedics, will always tell you things in the formal language, because that's how they are trained to be respectful and everything. And it's kind of cool, because especially police have their own cool language, and some of them do it really awesomely and some of them don't. But let's talk about the ones who do it awesomely. They have their own expressions, and not just saying that I saw the suspect in the 22nd Street or something. So not just, suspect and everything, but their whole the whole grammar and stuff, which is pretty cool. And the ones who can speak it properly are really awesome people, because it's like their own language and our own dialect of the language. Still, people understand it because we are used to that sort of things. Alright, well, there is one thing I want to talk about, and that is kind of awesome, but kind of sad. That's why I'm talking about it in this video. I mentioned before that Hungarians are not, they're going crazy with the whole cultural thing, because 40 years of communism, after that now 24 years of, I don't know what that is, but that's not healthy capitalism and everything, because the government is still controlling, like in the communist era, but good things are happening too. I mean, so that's really cool. But Hungarians are kind of gloomy and depressing, or depressive people have an affinity for depression. So this is not the point of this video. My point is that now we don't really know when to use formal, when not to use formal, and stuff like that. And furthermore, we develop this weird distance from addressing other people. So, for instance, security guards. Well, everybody loves security guards. Not really. But there are some cool security guards, very happy ones, but most of them are not that happy. Crazy as shit. And the trick is that they develop this informal but not formal, but not addressing other people attitude. So, for instance, instead of saying that, "Sir, could you please move away from this area because you're acting kind of suspicious? I'm terribly sorry to say that, but you are." And the other person, me for instance, would say that, "Oh yeah, sorry, no, you're right. That was completely out of stuff. So I'm moving on." No, instead they go around not telling people, just standing right next to you, and then, "This is not the place to stand.